You don't choose to become the world's most wanted hacker. You become one because your brain was built differently, and nobody warned you that being too smart in the wrong direction has a price tag nobody shows you up front. You're 13. Your best friend is about to fail the year. Not because he's stupid, because the system decided he was disposable. One overworked teacher who stopped caring, a grading portal running on decade-old software, and a school administration too busy covering itself to notice a kid slipping through the cracks. It takes you 11 minutes to get in. You don't blow his grades up. You're smarter than that. Just 3 assignments, adjusted just enough to look like he had a decent week. Clean, invisible, done. Nobody checks. Nobody notices. The reward is a soda and a casual thanks, like you helped him move a chair. But the feeling isn't pride. It's not thrill. It's something quieter and more dangerous than both. It's the exact moment a system built by adults reveals it was never as strong as the adults believe. You sit back, you look at the screen, and you think one thought that changes everything that follows. That was easy. Most people break a rule once and spend a week terrified. You broke one and spent a week curious. That difference, that single difference in reaction, is where your story actually begins. From the outside, nothing about you looks remarkable. Single mother, 2 jobs, an apartment that's clean because she refuses to let poverty win the aesthetics war. You wear shoes a season behind and pretend not to notice when people do. The refrigerator is never full. You've learned to not look at it too long. No teacher ever pulls your mother aside. No guidance counselor flags you as exceptional. You get average grades because average grades require minimum effort, and minimum effort means maximum time for the thing that actually matters. The thing nobody sees. You see patterns everywhere. The traffic lights on your street run a cycle with a 3-second overlap most drivers never calculate. The vending machine in your school hallway lags every 4th transaction. Your neighbor's Wi-Fi resets on her billing cycle like clockwork. Other kids see the world. You see the architecture underneath it. Systems built by humans, full of the corners humans cut when they got lazy or cheap or simply stopped paying attention. And when something feels easy, you don't stop. You push, just to see how far it goes. You teach yourself to code the way hungry people teach themselves to cook, with whatever's available in whatever time you have, because the alternative is going without. By 16, you're finding real vulnerabilities, not hunting for them, just walking past them the way you'd walk past a house with the front door wide open. The first serious one is a login flaw in a regional bank's mobile app. A session token that never expires. Thousands of accounts exposed. Anyone with intent could walk straight in. You write a detailed report. Send it anonymously to their security team. 2 weeks later, it's patched. No acknowledgement. No reply. Just silence. And here's the part that should make you angry, because it should. A 16-year-old kid, no degree, no salary, no obligation to anyone, finds a flaw that puts thousands of people at risk and fixes it for free. The bank's entire paid security department missed it. He caught it in an afternoon, and they couldn't even send a 2-line thank you. You do this 6 more times. Different companies, different stakes, each time anonymous, each time walking away with nothing. But in certain corners of the internet, your handle starts carrying real weight. And the internet has a strange way of rewarding talent. It shows you bigger doors. Let's be honest about what you are at this point. You've never stolen data, never sold a vulnerability, never caused a single user any harm. By every moral measurement you own, you're a watchdog, an unpaid, unrecognized auditor making the digital world slightly less broken than you found it. But here's what the law has never cared about: intent. Every access was unauthorized. Every entry, no matter how gently you closed the door behind you, was illegal. You've built a reputation as someone responsible. But responsible, in this context, is a compliment sitting on top of a criminal record you just haven't been charged for yet. You know this. You've always known this. You just keep telling yourself you're standing on the right side of the line. And one day, while walking that line, you open a door you were never supposed to reach. It starts as a routine trace. You're following a weak authentication chain in a government contractor's backend. Standard. Something you've done dozens of times. This time it leads somewhere that stops you completely. A hidden partition, layered behind misdirected traffic routing designed to look like a dead end to anyone not paying close enough attention. You pay close enough attention. What's inside takes 3 hours to process and 3 days to confirm. Mass surveillance. Not on criminals, not on suspects, on ordinary people. Your neighbors, your mother, people who downloaded an app to check the weather or split a dinner bill. Their location data, browsing behavior, financial patterns, communication metadata, all being harvested silently, packaged, and stored in a system with no public authorization and no visible oversight. Millions of profiles. You spend 72 hours verifying, cross-referencing, making absolutely certain you're not wrong. You're not wrong. This isn't a vulnerability. This is a machine. built deliberately, kept invisible on purpose, running in the background of people's lives without their knowledge or consent. And that should make you furious, because it should have made everyone furious a long time ago. You're holding the proof. Power always demands a decision. You don't act immediately. That's what they get wrong about you later when they're building the narrative. They'll say impulsive. They'll say reckless. They'll say arrogant. You spend 2 weeks doing the opposite. You strip every individual data point, every name, every personal record, every piece of information that belongs to a specific human being. What remains is structural, architectural, the skeleton of the machine without the people it was harvesting. 3 journalists, 1 whistleblower platform, 1 international digital rights organization, encrypted packages, simultaneous delivery. Then you close the laptop. You believe completely that you've done the right thing, that people who discover they're being watched will demand it stops, that systems can't survive once they're seen. You believe you're protecting people, but once information leaves your hands, it stops belonging to you. It never did. The story breaks on a Tuesday. By Tuesday night, it's trending in 7 countries. By Wednesday morning, it's front page everywhere. By Thursday, governments are issuing statements about statements. The public splits instantly and loudly into 2 camps that will spend weeks screaming past each other. Authorities don't debate. They move. Investigations are opened within hours. The anonymous source becomes the center of gravity for an institutional machine that has unlimited resources and exactly one objective: finding you. And you are sitting in second period, watching your history teacher explain the Cold War, while the kid behind you argues on his phone about whether the hacker is a hero or a criminal. You look at the whiteboard. For the first time in your life, you feel the weight of what you've done in your chest like a physical thing. Nobody writes about this part honestly. You go to class. You eat lunch. You ride the bus home. You exist inside the daily life of people who are actively discussing you, debating your morality, deciding who you are, and not one of them is looking at you. Your friend, the one whose grades you fixed 4 years ago, tells you over lunch that the hacker is probably some foreign government operative. You nod. You take a bite of your sandwich. This is the loneliness that has no name. You moved something real in the world. You can feel the vibration of it in every conversation around you. And you are experiencing it entirely alone, surrounded by people, invisible. For one moment, it feels like you actually changed something. Then the world starts looking back. People imagine a dramatic mistake. One moment of carelessness. One slip of arrogance. It's never that clean. You made almost no errors. Your security was exceptional. But investigators aren't looking for your mistakes. They're building a statistical portrait of your habits, the tools you preferred, the timing patterns in your accesses, the routing architecture you consistently favored, the way you structured your documentation. Individually, each data point is meaningless. Together, they start to look like a person. A van parks on your street twice a week. A follow request appears on a gaming forum you use. A routine call goes to your mother's workplace. You have no idea. You're doing homework. You're planning your next report. You're living a completely ordinary Tuesday. The scariest part of being caught isn't the moment they find you. It's realizing they found you weeks ago and you never felt it. 5:47 in the morning. You check your phone when the sound wakes you. The front door comes off. Not kicked. Removed. Deliberately. By people who have done this before and have stopped needing to be dramatic about it. Your mother makes a sound you have never heard from her. Something that lives between confusion and devastation. Her whole life is in that sound. Everything she worked 2 jobs to build, the clean apartment, the never-empty refrigerator, the dignity she maintained for you in a neighborhood that made dignity expensive, all of it is in that one sound coming from the kitchen. And it's your fault. That's the part they never put in the articles. Not the charges. Not the legal arguments. The sound your mother makes at 5:47 in the morning when the door comes off. Within 12 hours, your school photo is on national news. Your neighborhood is described in ways that make it sound like a crime scene. Your mother's coworkers see her face next to the word hacker before she even gets to work. You sit in a federal interview room with a cup of water you don't touch. You thought this story was about law. It was never about law. 3 months later, something surfaces that reframes everything. The system you exposed wasn't only a surveillance network. Below the partition you accessed, in a layer you never reached, was an active counterterrorism operation. Real-time tracking of 6 known networks across 4 countries. Your disclosure, surgical as it was, gave those networks enough detail about the architecture to identify the monitoring. Within 48 days, 2 operations collapsed. Not shut down by authorities. Burned by the people who were being watched. Coordinated attack follows. People are hurt. The line between your action and that outcome is not straight. It is not simple. No prosecutor can draw it cleanly in a courtroom, but it exists. You exposed something that was genuinely wrong. A surveillance machine that violated millions of people who never consented, never knew, never had a choice. That is real. And the exposure of that real wrong thing created a gap in the wrong place at the worst possible moment. That is also real. Both truths exist, simultaneously, permanently. No one can fully blame you. No one can fully defend you. And that is the specific kind of weight that never gets lighter. They make movies about the discovery, the decision, the arrest, the verdict. They never make movies about the night after the verdict, about lying in a room that isn't your room, running the sequence again, looking for the one moment where a different choice leads somewhere cleaner, and never finding it. You exposed a machine that was harvesting millions of lives without permission. You were right about that. Your exposure contributed to harm you never intended. That happened too. You cannot choose which truth to carry and leave the other behind. They don't separate. They live in the same space permanently, and that space is you. Some people will call you a hero with the confidence of someone who never had to make the decision. Some people will call you dangerous with the certainty of someone who has never questioned anything in their life. The people who actually understand what happened will say very little. Because here's the thing nobody tells a 13-year-old who just discovered something is easy. Easy is the most expensive word in the language. And being right isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning of learning exactly what being right costs. The real question was never what you would do. It was always whether you were ready to live inside everything that comes after. That's where we stop today. The story is fiction, but the systems aren't. And somewhere right now, someone is sitting in front of a screen realizing something is easy. If this one stayed with you, drop a comment telling me which moment hit hardest. Subscribe, because what's coming next is going to hit just as hard. See you there.